I want to show you a different way when it comes to accomplishing your goals. Most of us have already set up our goals and strategic objectives, so I do not want to speak about strategic planning. I want to more focus on the execution of those goals, and what I think is very important to the execution of those goals, the glue between your goals and your plans, right? What makes you able to accomplish your plans. The glue between your goals and executions is psychological flexibility. Psychological flexibility is someone's capability to mentally adapt to any situation to accomplish their goals, despite their emotions, despite their thoughts of maybe wanting to give up or stress, right? And you master psychological flexibility by not identifying strongly with your emotions or thoughts, especially in times where you feel as if it's getting tough, right? And focusing more on the goals. For example, when I was reading one of these books by Mark Owen and Navy SEALs that were sent on the mission to kill Osama bin Laden, yeah, it's a little bit crazy, but in that book he speaks about when it came to training, a thought that he had in his mind that always helped him move past no matter what the situation was I just want to get to the next meal. I just want to get to breakfast. I just want to get to lunch. I just want to get to dinner. So despite whatever they were going through their training, whether again, it's the long marathon runs, extreme push-ups, extreme PE, and then again, military training, he was just like, I want to get to my next meal. I want to get to my next meal. And again, I think this describes perfectly the ability of psychological flexibility and overcoming your emotions. If you've ever been in sales, and maybe you're feeling down about not reaching your last week's sale, but continuously pushing pushing for whatever goal you want to accomplish this week and maintaining that high energy needed to win over clients, this is just also another perfect example of psychological flexibility. And this is again achieved by not identifying more with your emotions, not identifying or focusing on the feeling of, oh, I want to give up, or the feeling of this is really difficult, or the feeling of maybe I'm not cut out for this. It's more just focusing on my goal and then analyzing what do I need to do to get to this goal, right? So again, maybe for example in sales, when you're just continuously focusing, maybe you want to change, target different audience, target a different market, maybe just target a different type of people or avatar, and then see if your sales will be better there. But again, by strongly identifying with your emotions or thoughts, it's easy for you to give up, because you are going to have feelings of, I don't want to do this. You are going to have feelings of, I don't want to carry on speaking to these people. I don't want to carry on facing rejection. And then that would also cause you not be able to have the energy needed to maybe speak to a client that you could have potentially won over, right? And this is also why I really think it's important and made it one of the focuses of this video, psychological flexibility, because I think this is the glue, or it is the glue between you executing on your goals and your plans, right? Because you can have a plan, you can try work it out, you can try implement it, and things just happen to be different. When you're focusing on your goals, you are going to experience a lot of distraction. You're also going to experience a lot of setbacks and obstacles. You as an entrepreneur need to identify what keeps creating urgent fires in your business, or simply just also generally in life. What keeps creating certain problems? Because there's usually a root problem that creates these fires consistently, these issues consistently, and it's just identifying, okay, what keeps creating this, what keeps maybe stopping me from reaching these goals. And then once you identify that and then work on fixing the root problem, it's also much easier to accomplish your goals and in your business, right? For example, company culture is really important. If you have a negative company culture, you're going to experience a lot of problems, and you might feel like, oh wow, I'm just unable to attract great talent, when in actuality you just have maybe bad company culture or maybe bad managerial skills, right? So by fixing the root issue of addressing what are my values and how do I want to communicate those values and what culture do I want to create for my company, or maybe taking management classes, you can now stop these problems, whereas underperforming teams, or not reaching targets, or not understanding goals that you've set out. You're seeing that someone can't work on something that you've delegated. Maybe again fixing your communication habits, right? So then as well, it's more about focusing on the root problem, and then it will now give you a lot of space to focus on continuously growing in the actual goals, instead of dealing with these setbacks and distractions that you're going to come across that just also they come out as urgent. A lot of the times, if something is just consistently urgent, you need to see that, okay, what am I doing, that where is this coming from, right? Because again, in life, obviously, you're gonna have, and in business, you're gonna have sometimes just things come out of nowhere. But when it's just consistent, you need to identify that root problem and address it as quick as possible. Now I want to speak about one of the keys of execution, which is accomplishing more by focusing on less goals. Diminishing returns affects goals so much and your ability to execute. There will always be great things and great ideas as a business owner that come across your desk, but you can't execute on all of these. So you as a leader and as your team of leaders need to think, what are the most impactful goals that we should focus our time and energy towards, right? What is going to lead to the highest amount of growth? And then you need to obviously shrink this down to around 2-3 goals, depending on the size of your organization, right? But especially when you're small, you need to think, what are the areas that if we focus a lot of attention and time here are going to result in 80% growth, right? So maybe, for example, if your goal is to grow by 10% in revenue, you should focus on sales, right? And implementing a different sales strategy, or maybe something different in terms of maybe implementing a different marketing strategy, rather than tweaking, let's say, the font on your website, right? On your landing page, just tweaking a little bit of your fonts and whatnot. Because again, people only come to your landing page, people only see your product when you have good marketing, when you have good sales. So it's by focusing on these things that's going to lead to, let's say, again, that 10% revenue and allowing you to accomplish your goals. So you also just with your team and just think about it and ponder, what goals, what areas if we focused on would have the largest impact in terms of our growth or bringing out our desired results. Maybe it might be product development, right? Maybe you already have the marketing, maybe you have the sales, but you can see that your customer base is unhappy and your retention is low. So by focusing on product development and creating a product, that people love, that consistently making it, consistently hearing what the market says, consistently, meeting a customer's needs and developing a product that they love, you will see crazy growth, right? So again, it's just really about sitting and thinking, what are the 2-3 goals that I can focus on that will lead to the most amount of growth, rather than trying to focus on 5, 7, 6 goals, right? Because again, the law of diminishing returns is very prevalent when it comes to goal setting. As someone can probably say in comments or just general, you've probably set a lot of goals at one point in your life, but how many have you accomplished, right? And again, this isn't a lack of your ability to execute in general, it's just that it's difficult, and especially to execute with high excellence on a lot of different goals, right? And that's also, again, you might accomplish, let's say, whatever your goal is, but maybe mediocrely, right? And again, especially in the competitive landscape of business, mediocre isn't necessarily good enough, right? Now let's say you have accomplished the 2 or 3 goals that you wanted to accomplish, but they haven't had the effects that you thought they would have. For example, you've implemented a new marketing strategy, but it isn't acquiring as many customers as you thought it would, right? Or you got a new sales strategy and it isn't producing as much revenue as you thought it would. We as business owners are usually really biased to things that have worked for us in the past, or things that we think we should be doing because the leading guy in our industry is using this competitive strategy, so we want to compete similarly, right? And this all makes us extremely competitive, and it's not necessarily not a negative thing, but again, it would stop you in terms of that as well, right? In terms of extremely perfect, competitive market, in terms of the economic state, it's extremely low profit margins for businesses, right? So to break past this and to find new ways to acquire customers, to find new ways to boost, profits that you're going to be generating, and focus on these different goals that you want to have these great effects, what I would suggest doing with your team is following the Bullseye framework. Now, the Bullseye framework goes from brainstorming with your team, what goals that you should really be focusing on, ranking them by importance, ranking them by probability of success and other metrics, and then again prioritizing which ones you should focus on in terms of I've brought them down to 2 or 3, and then testing. And then after you test, you see which ones were actually the most impactful goals, and then just continuously doing this process in terms of growing, right? And finding the things that are going to work for your business. But then again, this is only if as well, the first goals that you estimated didn't really have the effect that you wanted them to have. But yeah, Thank you for watching this video. I don't also want to say this isn't like Bible, as well as I speak with a lot of different business owners who have different ways of accomplishing their strategic goals that they've planned and strategic objectives that they've set out to. So again, this isn't gospel, this isn't Bible, but this has been really helpful to again, a large majority of the people in my industry, the people we work with. Again, we work with different niches, not only SaaS, right? The e-learning industry, just a bunch of different niches. One of our other previous clients was in the photography, right? Like, so a bunch, it's helped a bunch of different people. So again, I just do think that this is really valuable, and just implementing some of these. And again, if you do have any suggestions on how you've been able to, continuously accomplish your goals in your business and just even in your own personal life, feel free to send me a message.